Do you think you really know the people in your life? You probably believe you can spot a toxic person from a mile away. Someone whose energy feels heavy, whose words cut too deep, or whose actions clearly cross a line. But what if I told you that the real dangers don't come dressed like villains? What if the most destructive people in your life are actually the ones who seem kind, supportive, maybe even those closest to you? While you're busy guarding yourself against obvious threats, you might be unknowingly opening the doors to something far more dangerous. Other people's unconscious minds slowly seeping into yours. That's what Carl Gustav Jung dedicated much of his life to studying. Not just the conscious behaviors people show, but the hidden forces driving them. In his work, The Ego and the Unconscious, Jung explained that what truly influences human behavior is not in our conscious control. And this isn't just about you, it's about everyone. That's what makes it dangerous. Because when someone isn't aware of their own inner darkness, that darkness looks for a host. And too often that host is you. Think about it. How many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling drained for no reason? How often have you been blamed for emotions you never caused, or somehow ended up being the savior in someone else's personal chaos? Jung called this phenomenon projection. It's when someone unconsciously throws their own unresolved feelings onto you. And from that point forward, you stop being a person in their eyes. You become a symbol, a mirror, a villain, a hero. But none of it is truly you. The scariest part? Most of the time, you don't even realize it's happening. You think you're just being supportive, empathetic, mature. You believe you're helping. But what's really happening is that you're being pulled into someone else's unresolved inner war. Their chaos becomes your burden. Their unspoken pain starts shaping your reality. And it's not only the obviously manipulative people you need to worry about. Jung made a powerful point. The real danger often comes not from people with bad intentions, but from those who are completely disconnected from their own unconscious. These are people who've been taken over by their masks, their traumas, their unmet desires, and they don't even realize it. They're not evil, but they are dangerous. Their influence creeps in slowly, not through shouting or arguments, but through little comments, subtle blame, loaded silences. It's so gradual that one day, you find yourself doubting your instincts. You forget what's yours and what's not, and that's how you begin to live in their shadow instead of your own truth. Maybe you're going through this right now, in a relationship, at work, in your family, and maybe you've been blaming yourself, asking what's wrong with you. But here's the truth, there's nothing wrong with you. The problem is that you're being used, unintentionally or not, as a vessel for someone else's unconscious mind. In this video, we're going to walk through 6 types of emotionally dangerous people, the kinds Jung would have warned about. These are not villains by intent, but by unconscious force. And the scariest thing, some of them might not just be around you, they might be you. So, take a deep breath. Let's begin. But know this. After you hear what comes next, you'll never look at people, or yourself, the same way again. Imagine living with someone who blames you for how they feel. You smile, and they see it as a threat. You speak calmly, and they twist it into coldness. You show love, and somehow, they make it about pain. At first, they seem sensitive, maybe even emotionally deep. But as time goes on, you realize you've been dragged into a battlefield that was never yours. This is the unconscious manipulator, a person unaware of their own wounds, who casts them onto others just to stay afloat. Jung once wrote, "What we do not confront in ourselves, we will encounter as fate." And that fate often wears a familiar face. It might be your partner, a parent, a friend. And before you even realize it, you become a target, not for their hate, but for everything they can't face in themselves. The unconscious manipulator doesn't set out to hurt you. They're not plotting, but they're operating from a deep, buried chaos. Their emotional wounds are raw and untreated, so they aim them at you without even knowing it. In Jung's words, projection is a natural function of the psyche. But when someone doesn't recognize that they're projecting, that projection becomes toxic. It blinds them, and you. Suddenly, you're no longer you. You're their trigger, their enemy, their emotional punching bag, their savior. Whatever story they need to play out, you're cast in it. But you didn't agree to be in this play. They position themselves as the victim. Everything becomes your fault. If they feel angry, it's because you provoked it. If they're sad, it's because you disappointed them. And over time, you begin to wonder, am I really the problem? Did I actually mess up? That's how the manipulation works, silently, subtly, with no raised voices, just emotional pressure. What makes this worse is that unconscious manipulators are often charming, empathic, thoughtful. They don't seem like manipulators. That's what makes it so dangerous. You want to help them. You believe you can. And in doing so, you start sacrificing your mental and emotional well-being just to keep their pain at bay. Jung warned that projection is dangerous because it transforms real people into symbols. You stop being a human in their eyes and become a distorted reflection of their inner world. And when that happens, there's only one way out. You need to wake up. You have to become aware of the pattern, cut the invisible threads connecting you to their pain. Ask yourself, are these emotions mine, or were they handed to me? Because unconscious manipulators don't burst through the door. They slip in through the cracks of your kindness. And once they're in, they don't just take space in your life, they reshape it. But manipulation isn't the only mask the unconscious wears. Sometimes it shows up as perfection, control, the person who's always composed, always nice, always agreeable. This brings us to the next dangerous type, the bearer of the persona, the one who doesn't just project, but becomes the mask itself. And if you're not careful, they'll pull you into their illusions so deeply, you'll forget who you really are. Not every threat to your emotional well-being comes with chaos or cruelty. Sometimes it comes dressed in perfection, the ever-composed coworker, the friend who's always agreeable, the partner who never shows a crack. On the surface, it looks ideal, but when someone's too polished, too together, it's often a sign they've lost touch with who they really are. Carl Jung called this the persona, the social mask we wear to fit in. It helps us play roles, student, parent, boss, friend. But the danger starts when the mask becomes the identity. When someone believes they are the image they show, they disconnect from their essence. And in doing so, they lose the ability to be real, not just with others, but with themselves. The bearer of the persona lives for appearances. They say the right thing, dress the right way, always stay in control. But underneath that flawless performance is a soul that's suffocating. The more they protect their image, the more they bury their authenticity. And eventually, that buried self starts to rot, silently. If you've ever spent time with someone like this, you've probably felt it. That weird sense that something's off, but you can't put your finger on it. Every interaction feels scripted. Nothing goes too deep. You laugh, but it feels hollow. You talk, but it lacks soul. That's because you're not speaking to a person. You're speaking to a projection. And here's the dangerous part. People who live through their persona expect you to play along. They want you to be normal, predictable, agreeable, just like them. If you show raw emotion, if you speak truthfully, if you break the script, they pull away. They can't handle the very thing they've buried inside themselves. Jung warned that identifying too closely with the persona is one of the biggest threats to self-realization. Because if you believe you are your mask, you'll never confront the truth behind it. You become a hostage of your own performance. Living with someone like this slowly infects you. You start to hide parts of yourself too. You censor your thoughts, you downplay your pain, you become less you, and more of what they expect. Without knowing it, you begin wearing a mask of your own. But what happens to all those emotions that get buried? All the instincts and thoughts that never get expressed? They don't disappear, they ferment. They become shadow, the dark side of the psyche. And when someone keeps that shadow locked up for too long, it eventually breaks free. This brings us to the next and even more dangerous type, the owner of the repressed shadow, the one who looks calm on the outside but holds a storm within, the one who never explodes until they do. And when that shadow finally emerges, it doesn't just hurt them, it scorches everything in its path. Would you like the next section expanded as well?